Good morning, Nigeria. You tune into Breakfast Extra, your early morning dose of news, wit, and reality served hot just the way you like it. Now, let me give you a story. Once upon a time, in a country blessed with oil, brains, and promises, a young student sat under a mango tree, waiting by the dim light of a rechargeable lantern. His name? Let's call him Chika, a brilliant engineering student at one of our great federal universities. The same universities that take federal seriously because they're frequently federally shut down. You see, Chika had a dream. He built a drone from scrap metal and plastic bottles, the kind of thing you'd expect from Silicon Valley. Only this was actually Ajegunle Valley. He was selected to represent Nigeria in an international robotics competition in Germany. But alas, he could not go, not because he failed the test, but because his university was on strike. And the ministry that should have helped him said there are no funds. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the story of Nigeria's leaders of tomorrow, forever preparing for a tomorrow that never quite arrives. Let's rewind the tape. The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, was founded in 1978. And since 1988, it has gone on strike over not once, not twice, not even 10 times, 20 times. The reasons are familiar: unpaid salaries, poor funding, decaying infrastructure, and broken promises, especially the 2009 agreement, where government promised to revitalize public universities with 1.3 trillion naira. 16 years later, only a fraction of that money has been released. Now, between 1999 and 2023, Nigerian universities lost a combined 57 months. Now, that's almost 5 academic years to ASUU strikes. 5 years, that's what we're talking about. Now, that's how long it takes for a student to go from freshman to frustrated graduate. And what's the outcome? I'll tell you. Interrupted dreams, eroded knowledge, and a generation of youths learning that education is a gamble. These are the same youths we call the leaders of tomorrow. But how can tomorrow's leaders lead when today's systems keeps them waiting? How can they dream when the classrooms are locked, the lecturers are hungry, and their hope is on hold? Meanwhile, other countries are planning for the 4th industrial revolution, and our students are planning how to survive the next strike. We've turned education into a seasonal event, coming soon to a campus near you. The next ASUU strike, just like a movie. And when the universities finally reopen, students rush lectures like a Black Friday sale. Semesters are compressed, brains are overloaded, and degrees are hurried out like factory goods. Then we wonder why employers say our graduates aren't ready. Dear Nigeria, this is not just about strikes. It's about a system that keeps its youth in permanent loading mode. Chika could have flown Nigeria's flag in Germany. Instead, he sat at home, watching foreign teams win with ideas that he had already thought of. So as you sip your morning coffee or your morning tea, let's remember, the future isn't tomorrow. It's being lost today, one strike at a time. And unless the promises of yesterday are fulfilled today, the leaders of tomorrow may remain exactly where they are, waiting, hoping, and reciting the national anthem for an empty class. My name is Sowore Onyema, and I'm not alone. I have Darshan Usman here with me on Breakfast Extra. Darshan, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, Sowore. It's quite sad, what actually happened to Chika. Funny enough, a lot of other, youths are actually going through similar things, and some of them would actually say Nigeria has failed them. But when will Nigeria begin to come through for the youth, that they have?
That's a very big question. I was going to even ask you if ASUU ever affected your EYG. I call it EYG.
Yeah, why do you call it EYG?
It's called Expected Year of Graduation.
Oh, no, it didn't. I was really, really lucky. It didn't.
Seriously, how did you do it?
I don't know. Should I say it was God?
Oh, really?
Yeah, but that was actually, before I entered university, that was one thing that scared me. And I think it scares a lot of people. And that's why you have so many parents, taking their children to private universities, not minding the cost.
That's very true. All right, you're watching a Breakfast Extra. We're going to be talking about topics that got you talking all through the week. Without wasting much time, let's get the show on the road.
Welcome back and thank you for staying. You're still watching Breakfast Extra, and right about now we will be starting off with the dailies. We'll be talking about Saturday edition of Breakfast Extra. We will navigate some of the biggest conversations shaping our continent, first of all, from justice to politics to wellness and leadership. But before we get right into it, like I said earlier, let's bring to you the dailies for today. Let's take a look at what is happening on the front pages of the weekend newspapers. We'll begin with Weekend Trust here, and we have the main story here talking about Tinubu appointing news service chiefs. It says, meet the man, another story here that says, meet the man who may be APC chairman. If you take a look at the top of the Weekend Trust, it talks about Ivory Coast votes amid fear of violence, stories of children suffering from malnutrition, how gold for arms fuels terror in Northwest. And if you come below the page, you have a story here that talks about crumbling love stories of Nigerian celebrities and how governors reshaped Northern Emirates.
All right, from the weekend, the Trust will now move to the Punch newspaper. Of course, the major headline of the Punch newspaper is why Tinubu sacked service chiefs. Our presidency has explained that. And I think this was one breaking news that quite a lot of people were kind of surprised. Some people said they saw it coming. Did you see it coming?
I definitely did not see it coming. A lot of people, it came as a surprise to so many of us.
But nowadays it's happened, though. I mean, I'm sorry, but I just cannot not think about the fact that weeks ago, when we celebrated our independence, 65th Independence Day, there were talks about, or rumors rather, about the fact that there might have been a coup somewhere.
Yeah, well, let's just leave it at that as rumors. There's no need, bringing it up until, it is in the spotlight. So.
All right, so moving on now, of course, looking at the head papers, the Saturday Punch, rather. The left corner, you can see a headline there. Nigeria exits global money laundering watch list. I think this is good for our image, actually. I think at this point in time, if there's anything we need right now, we need something to affect, to help our image globally. Lagos bank worker missing as mother dies, father battles stroke. Inside Regina Daniels' networkers troubled home. It's not a headline on the left lower corner of the Punch newspaper, Saturday Punch rather. My life in danger over viral video on killing of Christians, says Plateau cleric Dachomo. Shocking confessions of ex-cultists. I killed 3 rivals for promotion, caused my father's death. Nnamdi Kanu to open defense on Monday. Failed maths exam led me to music, says Zlatan. Wow, this is enough points for us, of course. That conversation was had weeks ago talking about the fact that our students do not need mathematics to get admission into Nigerian universities.
Yeah, but you have so many people, saying that it shouldn't be, that mathematics is a very important subject, and without maths, what are the students going into university to do? But the truth is, there's so many courses that do not need mathematics, because I studied mass communication. I didn't need mathematics to, there was nothing mathematical about mass communication, and there's nothing mathematical about a lot of social science courses and a lot of arts courses as well. So,
interesting. All right, so that's what we have for the Saturday Punch this morning.
All right, now let's move to this day newspaper. And the major story, of course, talks about Tinubu to news service chiefs, strengthen Nigeria's security architecture, deepen professionalism, which is, all that we expect from our service chiefs. And we have liners here that say, President retains Chief of Defense Intelligence in major shakeup. Presidency says appointment of new service chiefs routine. Governors pledge to share intelligence with DSS, others, and experts harp on synergy, improved troops welfare. Now, we just above the story here, we have tributes pouring as Orama steps down as Afrexim Bank president, and successor Olumbi pledges to build on legacy of innovation unity. Just at the bottom of the page, you have a story that says Peter Obi makes case for port decentralization, cites economic benefits. And at the top of the page, finally, Nigeria exits FATF, Global Financial Crime Watch List. We have liners here that says Tinubu, NFRU boss, Edun Fagbemi, welcome countries delisting from grey list, and reiterates nation's commitment to financial transparency. I think these are some of the stories on the front page of this day newspaper.
This day, we'll now move to Saturday Tribune, and just like we had it on this day, the major headline has to do with the security shake-up that happened yesterday. Tinubu asked new service chiefs to deepen vigilance. Oluyede replaces Musa CDS, Chief of Air Staff, AVM, Air Vice Marshal Aneke, Chief of Army Staff, General Shaibu, Chief of Naval Staff, Admiral Abbas. And of course, at the top corner, the left-hand part of the Saturday Tribune, you can see the 90th birthday celebration. Presidency honors Adebutu with GCON. Aquari commends Babai Jebu's philanthropy. ADC to Tinubu, come clean on reason for sudden change of service chiefs. Okay, interesting. Southwest can have its own Silicon Valley. Aomolo Dosumu says as 9 Southwest secondary schools showcase 28 digital tech projects at Odua's foundation event. ADC challenges Tinubu be honest with Nigerians about reasons for military leadership change. On Nnamdi Kanu, I will appear in court to give evidence if summoned, says Wike. These are the headlines in the Saturday Tribune this morning.
All right, let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper. That's the Guardian Weekend. We have the major story talks about service chiefs as well, why Tinubu struck. But then just below the picture of the service chiefs, we have a story here that says, why Nigeria needs more universities after all. And that is in the back page and inside stuff. And so many people would actually say, why does Nigeria need more universities? The universities that we have at the moment are not operating as well as they should be, with the ASUU strike, the ASUU holding parents, guardians, and students to ransom with strikes and all that. So they need to fix the education system before thinking about, getting more universities. And we also have, just beside that, federal government raises alarm as 24 million pupils drop out before senior secondary school. Educationists call for free compulsory education. And the truth is, a lot of youths prefer, learning one or two skills at the moment rather than going to school, because they feel, it makes them independent, and they feel like they get to be their own person, when they learn skills rather than going to school. And we talked about ASUU strike as well. The education sector needs a major overhaul as well.
But I think at the end of the day, there's something university education brings to you in terms of even when you learn a particular trade for yourself, eventually when it comes to business, whatever it is you want to do. There's something a university education exposes you to, which it helps you know better how to go about things, how to even make presentations, how to arrange your business in a way that it's going to appeal. There's something about, there's an edge that when somebody who is a graduate, applies himself to a particular business, you just see the difference.
Absolutely. But I'm guessing that's the reason why you have so many universities now teaching entrepreneurship in schools. All right, so let's go back. We still have more stories. We have terrorism charges. Again, Kanu's defense stalls over absence of case file, and court grants Sowore defense lawyer 2 others bail. And this is actually one of the topics that we'll be discussing in the course of the program. DSS, CBN advised governors on security, economic stability, and that's on page 3. PDP Northwest leaders disown Turai Key's endorsement as consensus national chairman, and that's on page 3 as well. Nigeria's youth asset dependent on proper education. We just talked about this. Proper education, economic opportunities, and that's from Ndoma Egba. And at the top of the page, you have how far can good luck fortify Jonathan in 2027? And special features 20 years after Bellevue plane crash. Agony of Lisa Memorial Arcade keeps pulsating. And these are some of the stories on the front page of the Guardian newspaper.
The very last newspaper we're looking at this morning is the Saturday Nation. The major headline says varsity crisis deepens as pay talks collapse. The left-hand corner of the Saturday Nation, you can see why Nairobi is why Nairobi is a traffic nightmare. And also, still looking at the headlines on the Saturday Nation, a new phase for FAN, how KNH surgeons gave a young victim of banditry a smile and a future. Interesting. ODM, Young Turks eye Ryla's mantle. All right, there you have it. Those are the headlines in Saturday Nation.
Well, I think that's about it on the day list this morning. So we will be taking a break, and when we come back, the show continues. Do stay with us. Well, we begin with a developing story that stirred tensions in the nation's capital earlier this week. The hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu Now protests that gripped parts of Abuja on Monday, October 20th. Supporters of the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, took to the streets, defying heavy security presence and demanding his immediate release in line with court rulings. It was a day that began with chants of solidarity, but soon turned tense. Now we have our correspondents who covered the protests report that despite efforts to keep the demonstrations peaceful, protesters faced multiple disruptions from security operatives across key parts of the city. The situation quickly escalated with reports of sporadic scuffles, arrests, and in some areas, journalists, including members of the News Central team, being harassed while carrying out their duties.
Indeed, that, of course, raises serious questions about press freedom, security response, and the larger implications of this protest. What does this renewed agitation mean for national unity and justice? And how should both the government and the protesters navigate this tension moving forward? To unpack all of that, we will be speaking with News Central TV's correspondents, Sagir Ibrahim and Aisha Salihu, who were on ground in Abuja covering the protest. Of course, they will share what they witnessed from the protesters' message to the atmosphere on the streets and their own experience with security operators.
Well, just before we welcome Sagir and Aisha, let's take a look at this report.
It was a day of complaints across several parts of Abuja as security operatives mounted checkpoints and blocked major roads in anticipation of the Free Nnamdi Kanu Now protest. The protest, convened by activist Omoyele Sowore and a group of supporters, sought to draw attention to the continued detention of the pro-Biafra agitator. However, the heavy security presence and restriction of movement left many residents stranded.
This protest is very bad, especially with the masses. I've been trekking from Maraba Junction, look at me, to Kubo. I'm here, and look at how I'm sweating.
So hard to get to my place of work. The first route I took, it was blocked. We're not allowed to pass, so I decided to take this route. Same thing is happening, so I had to trek down.
Everybody wake up this morning, reporting to his or her duties. At the end of the day, you are turned back. They allow you to lavish your small little thing in your pocket.
From Nyanya, Kubo, Dutse, Meitama, and across major routes leading into the city center, long queues of vehicles formed as police officers turned back motorists and restricted entry into key areas. Commuters who could not proceed with their journeys were forced to trek long distances under the scorching sun, while others abandoned their plans entirely. Businesses were also affected as shop owners and workers struggled to reach their places of work.
Can this man, because of only one person, they shut down the whole nation? And you know the kind of money we are losing? We know the kind of people that there are some people that want to go to hospital, they could not have access to go to hospital.
We spent 2 hours for us to pass Zuma, which is unfair. Many people are going to their businesses. And what Sowore is calling for is a right thing. How can you keep man up to 6 years?
Although the police say measures were taken to ensure peace and order during the demonstration, many residents, however, called for better coordination between security agencies and the public during such operations to avoid unnecessary hardship. In Abuja, for News Central, Aishat Salihu.
7 a.m. Protesters were already on the streets of Abuja demanding the release of IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu.
Let's go to Berger.
They regrouped under the Berger Bridge, undeterred by the heavy presence of armed security operatives. They then proceeded into the Utaku district.
If this is our country and we are practicing democracy, then indeed every Nigerian should come out and demand for the freedom of a man who is only saying, stop the oppression against Nigerians from the southeast.
I will agitate against it. I will refuse to live in a country where I will be discriminated against because I am an Igbo man.
While interviews were ongoing, security agents fired multiple rounds of tear gas to disperse the crowd.
We're just tear gas right now. Right now, we're tear gas again. See by the same police.
Amid the confrontation, counter-protesters were also spotted along major routes, escalating the tension.
Whether black, yellow, from the north, from the south, we must be allowed to face the word of the law.
From Transco Hilton to Utaku, Apo Mechanic Village, Gudu Market, and finally the force headquarters, the protesters' movement were repeatedly broken up by the police. Still, organizers say their message has been sent.
Well, today was massive success. The only thing is that we are going to announce a new date again. And that one will be, they have seen now that we can shut down this Abuja. And you know Abuja, not even the Federal High Court where we're supposed to go and defend our case today, sacked. Because everywhere was shut down.
And so ends several hours of demonstration across the nooks and crannies of the Federal Capital Territory. For the demonstrators, they say they will regroup and continue in this action until Nnamdi Kanu, the indigenous people of Biafra leader, is released. And for the government, it's left to be seen whether they would cow to the demands of these demonstrations. But one thing is clear, this fiasco is far from over. From Abuja, Nigeria's capital city, for News Central, Sagir Ibrahim.
Well, right now we have our correspondents in Abuja, Sagir and Aisha, on standby, who were, on the front line of the incidents that happened. Thank you so much for joining, Sagir and Aisha.
Thank you. Good morning, Dashin. Good morning, Chua.
Good morning.
Morning to you.
It was quite a disturbing and scary incident, but let's begin with you, Sagir. Tell us about what the atmosphere was like on the ground. How tense was the situation when you arrived at the protest scene? And what stood out to you, the most about the protesters' energy or organization?
Good morning, Dashin. Good morning, Chua. The atmosphere was tense indeed. It was tense because Omele Sowore was there chanting and giving the ginger in the usual format that he does, telling the people it's time for Nnamdi Kanu to be released. And this time, no matter what the government says, they will not be deterred by the efforts by the government. And by all means, they showed this. They showed this because they had first of all tried to converge around the transport hilton area in Tama and Abuja. But sadly, they were dispersed after they were gassed by officers of the Nigerian police, as we saw in the visuals that have already gone viral. When many people thought that would be the end, of the demonstration as it is, they reconvened around the Bega area and marched into Utaku district. Now, for those who are familiar with the Federal Capital Territory and, of course, the Utaku district, you know that the luxury bus park in Utaku, the one that has all of the buses that travel long distance, towards the southeast, the south-south, and into all of those places, there is a concentration of individuals of Southeast extraction in that area. So, of course, it was really strategically smart to reconvene at that point, and the numbers quickly built from that point, because in a few moments we saw a number of individuals numbering 10 or 15 move to become close to 100 or more than that or thereabout. Now, this train processed through that area down past the NEJF City Council until the junction at the Jabi Park. And it was at that point that we decided that let's speak to some of them and, of course, get what they were saying. We were speaking with Barrister Kingdom Okere, a human rights lawyer at the time, just 5 or 6 journalists at the time who were trying to get his take on what he thought about the entire procession. And we were surrounded by police officers, and these police officers fired the tear gas canisters. And in fact, right now, Barrister Kingdom Okere is in the custody of the Nigerian police. So it was a tense atmosphere to some extent.
I can imagine.
Let me come to you now, Aisha. And now we understand that the protesters gathered despite a heavy security presence. Tell us, how did the security operatives respond to demonstrations, and how did things escalate at any point?
Okay, well, thank you so much, Georgia. Well, I would say on my own part, I literally covered the sidelines of the protest. In my own area, the areas I covered, there was no much of protest in those areas. It was more about people who were trying to get to their places of work and places of businesses, and they are facing some level of restriction by the security operatives. I mean, those police officers, officers of road safety, civil defense, amongst others, that mounted roadblocks in specific points, police checkpoints, and they were not allowing people to move. It was really, really restricted. So for those people, a lot of people had come out on a Monday morning. I'd say a lot of Abuja residents didn't even anticipate to see such hardship that Monday morning. Coming out hoping to get to your places of work, and then you don't realize that you're being stopped, you're being harassed, and you're not allowed to go to your place of work or place of business. So it's more like you've lost your time, you've lost your resources, your money, transportation. So you can hear some residents in the report talking about even from the little money they have in their pockets, they have to still spend out of that and coming out to see such situation. So a lot of people, they were even saying that if the authorities knew that this is what was going to go on and it will have this kind of hardship and resultant effect on the residents, perhaps there should have been an announcement saying, okay, there won't be restricted movement, there won't be, maybe say, take today off, don't come out or something. They were saying they would have appreciated that if that was announced. But instead of coming out and then you're spending 2-3 hours in traffic. And this was what happened. That was earlier in the morning, in the day, and a lot of people were just, roaming about. It was more like there was no business or activity going on, especially in the central area. And apart from that, later on in the day, when we were still following up with the developments arising from the protests, even areas that were protesting and areas that were not protesting, we ended up at the Federal Ministry of Finance junction. And when we got there, of course, security operatives and officers were still there, mounted heavily in those areas. So as members of the press, we have the right to, cover what was going on and even speak to people who were trying to move from point A to point B and let them assess the situation and all that. But whilst we were at it, I remember Dashin said it earlier that journalists were harassed. I was part of those who were harassed, myself and the camera operator and also driver, because we're parked at the junction there. We're trying to get interviews And then, security operatives moved on to us, asking why we were here, what were we doing in this area, what business did we have here. They were clearly seeing a press vehicle, and they demanded for our ID cards, which we showed to them, but they insisted that why were we here? It looked as if we were gathering people, and we explained to them. But then they weren't listening to reason, and they, as you can see in the video, they were harassing the driver, they were harassing the camera operator. They had to calm down, and it was just a whole lot of back and forth. At the end of the day, they even used their firearm to hit the driver, and also one of the officers, the civil defense officers, actually hit the camera operator in his mouth, and he immediately started bleeding from his mouth. So that was just basically what's happening that day. It was really appalling to see that at this day and age in Nigeria, in our history, in our democracy, we still have security operatives harassing the press, especially when we're talking about press freedom. So where are we heading? That's just basically all we saw that day and more.
Your experience is actually quite funny because, they did see the press car, they saw your ID card and your tags, and they did see some of, I think they saw you guys wearing a t-shirt, a press t-shirt as well, and they were still asking, trying to find out. It just seems as if they had no idea what they were doing in that moment. But let's come back to you, Sagir, as well. If you could share your experience, what happened to you and your crew at your location.
Well, that should say for the action of the protesters and the action of the police to disperse the protesters. For us, we tried the best that we could, to report from a safe distance. Of course, so it was unannounced for us because we knew that the police would not be friendly. Should we be caught in the crossfire? Thankfully, we were safe. Talk about an irony, talk about the fact that we were right in it and it was happening right there, but then we were able to keep safe. But by and large, we still didn't stop the police from telling us where we were at. The NEJF City Council area. This was just 2 feet away from the NEJF City Council. That's the Nigerian Union of Journalists Council. And the police still, in the visual fashion that they do when it's protests like this, surrounded. They saw this to confirm that it was an incident. In fact, in the video, they had picked up, a guy who was holding a placard. They still didn't do anything at that point until when, I don't know, for some reason, they started to throw the tear gas canisters and they ran. So that was the most intense of harassment that we suffered on our side. But then for the protesters, I can't say much. I can say much more, I beg your pardon, about them, because it wasn't just about tear gassing them, but of course, we saw the police pick some of them up. And at this moment, the police official figures say those individuals number around 13 or so. And of course, we know that this has also transcended into another development with the revolution now convened, and of course, we see Nnamdi Kanu convened and more Sowore being docked in force.
Well, thank you very much, Sagir and Aisha, for, of course, bringing us those detailed updates and first-hand accounts from the hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu Now protest in Abuja. We appreciate your courage and professionalism in covering such a tense situation and, of course, for sharing experience with us today. Welcome back, of course, you're still watching Breakfast Extra, and it's time for our very first big story. On Monday, October 20th, 2025, the streets of Abuja once again echoed with chants of protest, this time under the banner of hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu Now. It was led by activist Sowore. Demonstrators demanded the immediate release of the detained IPOB leader, Nnamdi Kanu, who remains in custody, facing terrorism-related charges. Now, the protest, which unfolded right in the heart of Nigeria's capital, saw heavy security presence, road blockades, and in some cases, the use of tear gas and the force to disperse crowds. Although a federal high court had earlier restricted protests around sensitive areas like the National Assembly and ASUU, protesters defied the order, insisting their call was not rebellion, but a plea for justice.
But now the conversation has actually taken a new turn because just yesterday reports confirmed that Omoyele Sowore, the convener of the protest and a prominent rights activist, was rearrested by Nigerian police and is reportedly facing terrorism-related charges. Now the development has raised serious questions about the state of civic freedom in Nigeria and whether the government is tightening its stance on dissent. So today, we're not just asking about the hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu protest. We're also asking, what does Sowore's arrest mean for freedom of expression and lawful assembly in Nigeria? Is this protest truly a call for justice, or has it become a political flashpoint in a tense national climate? Now, to help us unpack this, we're joined by Barrister Uthman Tochukwu. He's a legal practitioner. Thank you so much, Barrister Tochukwu, for joining us at this time.
Thank you for having me this morning.
It's a pleasure. Now, Barrister, let's begin. The hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu protest in Abuja drew national attention despite rising economic and security challenges. Now, in your view, what was the core message of that demonstration?
Thank you very much for having me. In my view, I think that the core message for that demonstration is as enshrined in the Constitution. Section 39 and 40 is very clear that every citizen of this country has the right to protest against the ills of government, whether the government likes it or not. And on the basis of that, they went to the street to demonstrate against the background of Nnamdi Kanu's continued detention. And aside that, I think there is a very important message that the Nigerian police need to learn. There is nothing forbidding any citizen of this country to go to the street to demonstrate. So going to the court to get an order ex parte to restrain them from demonstration is something to stifle democracy, and which is not acceptable in democratic society. Whether the court order is in existence or not, the court order was not served on anybody. That court order that was obtained by the Nigerian police was not served on any party at all, because it was ex parte order and they were only known to them before the demonstration took place. So in that basis, I think that it is against the call for demonstration, it is against the constitution for anybody to stop anybody in this country for going out to demonstrate against the ills of government.
Now, this arrest has sparked what I would say a widespread criticism, with some describing it as an attempt to silence dissent. From a legal standpoint, Barrister, does this reflect due process or an overreach of state power?
Again, I want to make some comment over the arrest of Omoyele Sowore on that day. You see, the Nigerian police again have started what they did in the past. Like when you want to demonstrate, the security agencies will come and get you arrested just to make sure that you don't come back for that same demonstration anymore, to put fear into you and all of that. This is very wrong, and this must be unacceptable in a democratic society. And we call on them to release Sowore now and make sure that it doesn't repeat itself again.
So I asked you earlier that what does this mean? I'm talking about the fact that this arrest has been made right now. What exactly does this mean? From a legal standpoint, does this reflect due process or a show of state power?
Of course, it doesn't reflect due process of law. It is merely a show of state power, to show that the state can exercise their powers regardless of whether or not it is constitutional. The right to protest is guaranteed under the Constitution. So what is the meaning? Where did they get the right to arrest a protester, a free protester who does not bear any arms? He is merely a protester who has just joined the streets to protest on the basis of the ills of government. And Section 39 and 40 protect him to do that. So the arrest is a show of state power. It does not protect, it does not show any legality. The arrest is illegal in all forms. And we are calling on the authorities to release him forthwith.
Well, all right. Now, given that not only Sowore was arrested and rearrested, we also had a few protesters who were arrested as well. And the protest was largely peaceful before security disruptions. We all know that. So what does the incident reveal about citizens' right to peaceful assembly and free expression in Nigeria?
It has been a challenging one for the citizens to express themselves and freely assemble in Nigeria, despite the constitutional provisions for that. And that is why we are calling on the authorities to allow Nigerians to have freedom of expression to protest as guaranteed under the Constitution. This is not the first time it's happening. Every time people assemble, the security agencies, Nigeria police, and some other security agencies went there to disrupt them. Instead of them to provide security to protect them, they disrupt the protest. This is against democracy, and this is against the principle of rule of law. So if we want to continue to respect the institutions and the rule of law in this country, we should begin to respect the citizen rights for freedom of assembly and right to protest in this country. Otherwise, we are not getting there yet. We have not gotten to the place we are aiming to reach. If we don't allow citizens to freely protest and freely assemble in this country against the ease of government, it will cost us a lot to get to where we are going to as a democratic country.
Now, many Nigerians are struggling with inflation, insecurity, and also unemployment. Do you think this protest was, maybe something that expresses also the fact that Nigerians are going through a lot?
The protest was mainly for the free of Nnamdi Kanu. I do not think that it's associated with another thing that the country is facing, even though the country is facing a lot. Unemployment is there, hunger is there, the other crises, the killings that is happening across other states is there, and all of that. But the main issue that caused the assembly was the free Nnamdi Kanu from detention. That is why they went to the street to demonstrate. I do not think that it's associated with other things.
Okay, now I'm being told that we have been joined by Dr. Maxwell Okpara, a constitutional lawyer and human rights activist as well, to shed more light on this issue and this development. Thank you so much, Dr. Okpara, for joining us at this time.
It's my pleasure to be here. Good morning. A happy weekend.
It's a pleasure to have you as well. Now, some observers have actually argued that Sowore's involvement politicized the movement. That's transforming it from a justice campaign to a political rally. How would you respond to that perception?
That is one of the things that is killing this country. Anything that happened, had it been that Sowore is from Igbo extraction that conducted this thing, they would have said that that Igbo person is an IPOB or ESN. Had it been that there is an Hausa man that organized this protest for the justice for Nnamdi Kanu, they would have said that it's because of the president is not an Hausa person, that Hausa people want to remove him to take over. Now that he's a Yoruba person, now they now say that it's political. Are we in politics now? Are we in politics now? It's not only the APC that is politicizing, that is campaigning. Even if it is politics, for goodness sake, what are we doing? Like New Central, you were there at the battleground yesterday, giving live report of what is happening. New Central, what are you doing? You are doing to tell people that you can do it. It's a competition. It's a competition. In the media, there is a competition. If Sowore say that, yes, just to tell the Igbos that I will be a better candidate, and decided to carry out this thing, what is bad about it? I'm talking about those who are talking from their nose, who say that it's politics. What do you mean by politics? Now, when Sowore organized for the protest for police officers that they refused to promote, where IG promoted a particular girl who has spent 10 years in the service, promoted her 5 times from ASP to ACP, 5 times within 10 years. and somebody who has been in the police over 30 years has only received only 2 promotions. When Sowore protested that, what was it? When Sowore protested for which other protests Sowore led? All those several protests he has been organizing. In June 12th, when Sowore led the students against annulment of June 12th, was he a politician? Was he contesting for president at that time? And my own problem is that when somebody, I continue to say it, there are some things that you don't need to carry as a news. Somebody cannot be talking. This man said, this man is not supposed to be there. He's not supposed to be in detention because they continue to detain him. He's creating more harm than good. Please free him now. He never committed anything. Nnamdi Kanu is agitating for Biafra, which is his right. He never carried any gun. Now that you have seen those who are carrying gun, you are having discussions with them. Those who are killing people, killing soldiers, you are having discussion with them. Even the meeting you call them, they came with their gun and bullets and whatever thing.
Now, Barrister, you're on Omoyele Sowore's side, and of course, we know that he was arrested yesterday. But can you confirm the details of his arrest and the nature of the terrorism-related charges being filed against him? Okay, looks like we lost connection with Barrister. Perhaps I'll just take the question to Mr. Barrister Tochukwu. If you can hear me, I asked if of course we can confirm the details of the arrest and also the nature of the terrorism-related charges being filed against Mr. Sowore.
As at this morning, I can't confirm the nature of the arrest, but I can confirm that he's still in detention up till now. Maybe on Monday we'll be able to to see what the police or the IGP have filed against him. Until then, we cannot confirm the nature of the arrest as at this morning.
Barrister Tochukwu, but do you believe that protests like this can still influence government policy, or have Nigerians lost faith in civic demonstrations as a means for change?
Sure, if it doesn't influence government policy, you will not find them looking to hijack the protests, looking to arrest people who are leading the protests. Sure, it does do or influence government policy, but in future, I think that people may not be able to have the courage to come out to protest if it continues this way, and that is the fear we are having. That when people like Sowore and others like him are beginning to face arrest and injustice like this, whenever they come to protest, it creates discourage and fear into people, and by that it may make them not to be coming out to protest in future.
All right, I'm now informed that we've gained connection with Barrister Bar. Barrister Bar, can you hear us? Oh, good to have you back. But tell us, what does the continued detention of both Nnamdi Kanu and now Omoyele Sowore suggest about Nigeria's democratic space and the rule of law heading into 2027?
Yes, just like my friend in the studio said, listen, let me tell you, this is not about Sowore. It's about our Nigeria. It's about our rule of law. It's about this country. Yes, okay, you have arrested Sowore now and dumped Sowore at Kuje prison. What next? What are you telling people? You are moving around asking people to come and invest in your own country. You are calling people to come and do business in your own country. You said that you go and work, you don't want foreign investors. If you travel outside, you know that those people have more information of what is happening in Nigeria more than you. Do you know that it's the federal government that did this protest? The people that did this protest is federal government. In fact, it was even federal government that popularized this protest. If you should tell ourselves the truth, it's the federal government that made people to run inside their house and refuse to come out. Because you go and say, if you come out, we will kill you, blah, 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 barricade everywhere. United States government now urge its citizens not to come out. Other embassies now urge their citizens not to come out as a result of their foolish decision. Now, you are now talking about democracy. Any democracy without agitation, any democracy without protest, any democracy without criticism, that democracy. Now, Mr. President, I ask you, how will you know that you are doing well when people are not complaining, when people are not criticizing your policy, when people are not protesting? How would you know that you are where you are not doing well? Is it Bayo Onanoga, a jobless, all those jobless people around Villa there who want to tell you what you will hear? The people that will help you is activist opposition. Someone like Sowore. When Sowore talk, you listen so that you get it right. These are the people that are threatening your government. So if there is any people that you deserve to give award, it's all these people. Like now, people who are telling you about Nnamdi Kanu, they have not told you anything. They have not told you anything about the case because you are not coming to court. You only rely on what Attorney General tells you and what the legal advisors, the information they supply to you. You are not coming to court. It is the people, the opposition will tell you that, look at the prosecution. They are using this Nnamdi Kanu's matter to be as a victim of fraud. It's the opposition that will tell you that Nnamdi Kanu, they are using feeding of Nnamdi Kanu to be looting money. They are using anytime Nnamdi Kanu is coming to court, they carry what do you call it, amount car, carry this, and at the end of the day, they will give you bail. It's opposition that will let you know all these things. And when you read them, you take the one that will benefit their government, and the one that you know that will not benefit their government, you leave them. Especially if all those ones that you know that they are not constructive, they are attacking you, you leave them. You can even take something from there and work towards that. So when you say that people are not protesting, you have murdered the democracy, you have destroyed this country, and that is why everybody should condemn it. You may hate Sowore, you may hate his destiny, but when government is not doing well, you condemn it. And thank God that people are condemning it. And then I must say, judiciary are not helping matters. I have said it and I continue to say it for who cares to hear. Judiciary are not helping matters, please.
All right, well, that actually brings to question the independence of the judiciary. But let's have final thoughts from you, Barrister Tochukwu. What steps should the government take to address public grievances, without escalating tensions or criminalizing dissent?
I think the first step is by respecting the rule of law, by respecting the sanctity of the provisions of the Constitution, Section 39 and 40, which is very extant and clear about the right to demonstration and the right to assemble. When the government guarantees discipline in these two things, there will be hope for this country. There will be hope for democracy. And there will be hope for ordinary Nigerians out there.
So I'm going to ask the same question, of course, to Barrister Okpara, if he's still there. Of course, so what do you think is the way forward in terms of addressing, issues like this when it comes to protest? How can we do it in such a way that's still within democracy?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
We can hear you.
Okay. My dear brother, see, when this protest started, my NGO, we notified the police that we want to participate in the protest. Now, when we notified the police invited us. We explained to them. The essence of protest is to voice out what is in our mind, and it's going to be peaceful. What I expected to do, sometime last 2 weeks, some persons protested in support of the government, that President Tinubu is the best government president in the whole world, that to protest in support of his government. They started from Fountain Square down to Villa. Police protected them. Road safety protected them. Marshal them to all the places they carry blackouts. Are you getting what I'm saying? Now, reaching the people who want to also criticize their own government, you are expected to, in fact, those people are the people that you're even supposed to allow them to come. What do they have? Do they have any protest letter? Collect the protest letter. Let them go to National Assembly. National Assembly should be able to, because as a state president, you will not be everywhere. As a president, you will not be everywhere. When those say, okay, is that what happened? You use it. You work on it. My dear brother, you discover what happened about one pastor that killed his colleague in Akwa Ibom, I think in Akwa Ibom somewhere, and they collected his car, and the mother, they went to the judiciary, the pastor was released, and he continued to do the same. The family were handicapped. It was social media when the brother now came and make a video, this thing, explain what happened, the thing escalated. That was even when the governor of that state knew that this thing was happening in the state, and the other attorney general that they should prosecute the matter. Had it been that we don't have social media, had it been that the boy did not protest, because what the boy did is protest, the governor wouldn't have known. I can go on and on. Anytime you want that protest, like those of them, even including lawyers, because you are doing one contract or the other, because they have given you one appointment, you are now talking from your nose. You see something that is wrong. Instead of you to say, something is wrong.
Okay. All right, well, we seem to be having a connection problem with Dr. Okpara as well. But, we hear you loud and clear. And thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time and for your insights on the show this morning. And for the viewers, please stay with us. We have more stories coming up after the...
Hello and welcome to Breakfast Headlines. I am Chiwata Onyema. The Federal High Court in Abuja has commenced a trial within a trial to determine claims of coercion and intimidation raised by defendants. An ongoing prosecution of suspects linked to 2011 bombing of the United Nations headquarters in Abuja. The suspects, Khalid al-Banawi, Mohammed Saleh, Umar Bello, Mohammed Salisu, and Yakubu Nuhu, through the council, alleged that their extrajudicial statements were obtained under duress while in the custody of the Department of State Services, the DSS. At the resumed proceeding, counsels representing both the prosecution and the defense confirmed that they had jointly reviewed video recordings of the defendants' interrogations in the presence of court officials in compliance with Justice Emeka Nwite's earlier directive. The DSS also informed the court that masked witnesses would testify during the trial within trial to address the defendants' allegations of coercion in obtaining their statements. After reviewing a substantial portion of the video recordings, Justice Nwite adjourned the matter to November 21 for continuation of proceedings in the trial within trial.
By virtue of those objections, the court ordered for trial within trial, and in trying to establish that the statements were obtained voluntarily, the prosecution already called 2 witnesses, PW1, PW2, and then the prosecution further called the 3rd witness, who is PW3. And the PW3 was the one that recorded the statement taken. So, by virtue of PW3, we were able to tender in evidence the DVDs, the video clips of the statements of the accused persons where they were writing their statements. So that's what we are going through. And we are doing that successfully, and that is the stage which we are presently in now.
The United Nations in Nigeria has commemorated 80 years of unity and partnerships among the nations of the world. The UN marked the milestone in Abuja with the theme, Building Our Future Together, a renewed call for solidarity in a world faced with growing crisis. Our correspondent, Blessing Akigbe, compiled this report.
Born from the ruins of war in 1945, the United Nations has for 8 decades remained humanity's platform for peace and progress, promoting international security, defending human rights, and driving sustainable development. Marking its 80 years anniversary, the celebration echoes a rallying call for unity and shared responsibility.
80 years ago, it was decided that the world needed an institution that would protect the coming generations from the ills of war and ensures a peaceful, prosperous, and just world. We are here to recommit ourselves to deliver a world of peace and development where the respect human right is guaranteed.
As we mark 8 years, we look forward. The theme of this year, Building Our Future Together, is more than a slogan. It is a call to action. Our future will not be built by chance. It will be built by choice.
We must reaffirm our dedication to sustainable development, a cornerstone of peace, prosperity, and human well-being.
For Nigeria, the partnership with the UN has delivered real impact from peacekeeping and humanitarian aid to education, gender equality, and climate action. Officials also highlighted the role of youth, technology, and inclusion as building blocks for the next generation of global cooperation.
The UN is proud to work this journey with Nigeria. Together, we have defeated polio-free. Together, we have fought Ebola and COVID-19. Together, we have championed education, we have championed gender equalities and climate action. Together, we have affirmed that no one should be left behind.
Building our future stands for shared responsibility, equity, and inclusion, the digital revolution, investment in youth and future generations.
At 80, the United Nations stands not just as a global institution, but as a living promise to serve humanity, by humanity, and for humanity.
The Joint Task Force Operation Enduring Peace in Plateau State has reunited a 17-year-old Nigerian person of Barnabas Kefas from Basa local government area of Plateau State who was trafficked to Ghana back with his family. The media officer of Operation Enduring Peace, Major Samson Zakum, while handing over Kefas to officials of the National Agency of the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, says that the operation is proof of the Army's commitment to restoring back the rule of law to troubled communities and ensuring citizens in the north-central region of the country are safe. Chizoba Anyowe was there for News Central and now completes this report.
It was a moment of joy for the family of Barnabas Kefas from Basa local government area of Plateau State. After being successfully trafficked to Ghana and a report filed by his troubled father, efforts to get him back to Nigeria begun.
Hi, I'm feeling happy. I'm feeling happy because my son's come back. Because my son, they sleep outside anyhow. And when I reach 2 days, I now see my son and I'm starting fine.
The media officer of Operation Enduring Peace, Major Samson Zakum, after the reunion with his family and his subsequent handing over to Nnamdi, assured that the military will not relent in its efforts to creating safer and more secure space for citizens.
The arrest of these human traffickers by troops of Joint Task Force Operation Enduring Peace signals a robust collaboration with the other agencies of government in checkmating human trafficking and bringing perpetrators of such heinous crime to justice.
While the father witnessed the incident, despite many earlier thinking and believing that Kefas had been kidnapped, the commander of Nnamdi in Plateau State says that prosecution of the suspects have already begun.
I want to use this opportunity to thank the management of Operation Enduring Peace for their efforts in fighting the scourge of human trafficking on the plateau. A lot of efforts has been made. We have carried out sensitization to so many places, especially the rural areas. And I pray that the suspects we are getting here today will prosecute them and will see that justice is done.
For Kefas, his father and loved ones, they think it is fair to say the ordeal can now be put to the past.
He told me that he have a work for me. When I meet them, they just tell me that by tomorrow morning, I will be leaving. And that's how I just arranged by the morning and I left.
While the return of the 4 remaining rescued victims is still being awaited, much expectation is being anticipated from the judiciary to ensure that the trafficked victims get justice. In Plateau State, for News Central, Chizoba Anyowe.
And that's all we have for you at this time. Breakfast Extra continues.
A tragic scene unfolded at the Alaba International Market here in Lagos as fire gutted several shops and warehouses, destroying goods worth millions of naira and leaving traders devastated. Now, reports say that the fire service arrived late and shockingly without adequate manpower or even water to contain the blaze. By the time reinforcements arrived, the flames had already spread, consuming a large part of the market. Now, this incident once again raises serious questions or concerns about Lagos State's preparedness for emergencies and the overall capacity of our fire service to respond effectively to such disasters.
Indeed, this isn't the first time we have seen such tragic losses. In recent months, Lagos has recorded several fire incidents from markets to residential areas, each time exposing critical lapses in emergency response and infrastructure. Our correspondent, Victor Mbadike, has this report.
Her dirty hands tell of hours spent trying to save what is left of her goods after the fire. At the time of filing this report, the cause of fire has still not been determined.
At this point, the fire has been fully contained here at the Alaba International Market. But what is left behind tells the story of the devastation it caused overnight. No emergency officials are currently on site, and traders are now doing what they can, rescuing goods and valuables of what is left from their shops.
The affected warehouses and the law firm have left victims grinding in pain, counting huge losses as they try to pick up what is left.
This is a warehouse where a member of my union is packing his goods. He offloaded, that was last week, Thursday, a 40-footer container of auditorium chair, which contains about 285 sets. And one set goes for 370,000. You can see the amount that was lost in this warehouse alone. Even the next warehouse also, the young man offloaded this royal Turkish sofa, 140 feet, and also 120 feet. What he lost there should be about more than 120 million, and here should be over 80 million.
Asking me how.
Apologize for the fact that the report wasn't really sinking. Moving on now, we're joined by Mr. Udoka Okechukwu, the chairman of the Olojo Drive and Environ Traders Association, Ojo Alaba International Market, to share more on the traders' experience, their losses, and expectations from the government. Thank you so much, Mr. Nwankwo, for joining us.
The program this morning.
All right, now, can you describe the extent of the damage? How many traders were affected and what kind of losses we're talking about? Because it's quite sad that we're seeing this happen again. We're still not over the incident that happened at Mandilas where lives were lost as well. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I'm actually disappointed. It's painful because our members lost a lot of money in the warehouses there, and even the law firm that they are sharing the same building together. All the documents, nothing is left behind. Everything is gotten down by fire. You can see as the fire just stopped and the fire service controlled it. Most of my members, the other young man offloaded a 40-footer container of petroleum chair just on Thursday. In 6 days, this fire just got everything down. A young man has been in serious pain since then because that goods worth over 120 million. Besides, he is trading with bank's money, bank's loan. The young man is still in pain up till today. The other young man offloaded 140-footer and 120-footer container, which fire got everything done. No pin was rescued from there. And the thing has been a very big challenge to them because those money lost there is not their personal money, it's bank loan, and also the money that is being owing to the clearing agent.
we lost a lot of money. We be asking for government support and how to prevent these future occurrences to avoid it recurring again.
Mr. Uncle, tell us, how did you and your members react, especially finding out that the fire service came unprepared? Did you resort to self-help? What did you guys do eventually?
Okay, the security man was around and they called me when this started. I have gotten home by then. I told them to go to the fire service and they called them. Well, they went there twice before they now arrived. When they arrived, they were not properly equipped. The first tanker came, the water then came in was a little water, and they went back for the reinforcement. Assuming that the first time that they came, that they are well prepared, though we know that it's a kind of emergency, but then tried their best. We called them, then came in, then tried their best, and they were able to control the fire. But assuming that there's an adequate equipment for them, like ladder, to climb up. That was what gave them the headache for the first time before they went back for the appointment.
But Mr. Odoko, I really sympathize with you and, the traders who lost so much during this incident. But do you feel that there's been enough government presence or empathy since the incident?
Actually, they tried their best, what they can. It's a kind of a natural disaster. But what I'm still saying is that had it been that they arrived early when we went there to call them, we didn't call on phone because it's about 5 buildings away from where the fire incident occurred. Had it been that they are well equipped, this could have been cut short. Maybe the damages won't be much.
But Mr. Udoka, did those who were around try to put out the fire before the emergency services came around?
Yes, they try, but that is an upstairs two-story building. Taking water from down to upstairs is not easy. I mean, you can't do much. You can't do much manually, except when the equipment is there before you can be able to do. You can see it, two-story building. We are there just calling people. People try their best before they arrive. But we expected them to be more proactive next time.
Mr. Udoka, fires like this have become too common in Lagos markets. I mean, we cannot forget what happened in Mandela so soon. Do you think this is due to negligence or poor infrastructure or a lack of enforcement of safety standards?
Actually, to me, already we set a 5-man committee to investigate the cause of the fire and get back to us, the union, made up of 2 civil engineers and 2 electrical engineers, and one of the market member to investigate and get back to us. We cannot really say this is the cause of the fire. I don't know if if it's electrical or just natural disaster. I can't tell. When the investigation is being concluded, they will not get back to us. We know the cause, so that we can also find a means of preventing it to avoid the occurring again.
Well, he talked about safety standards, and speaking of prevention, I'm actually tempted to ask if, these shops in Alaba Market have access to fire extinguishers in their stores.
Yes, all the shops in Alaba International Market has a fire extinguisher, of which we do routine check every year to check the fire extinguisher. We have a task force that does that. At the beginning of the year, we make sure that the fire extinguisher, if it's expired, it does that yearly.
So, Udoka, going forward, what measures do you think should be put in place to prevent another disaster like this at Alaba or even other markets across Lagos?
Well, that's why I said that we set up a committee. The committee will come out with a recommendation, but what we are planning now is that all the shops must have at least 3 fire extinguishers, and if possible, the market union, we might also go ahead and get a firefighting equipment like the heavy-duty truck that we station around our market We can't only be waiting for the fire service to come, so that when such occur, our fire servicemen can take over before we now call the federal or state fire service to assist us. That is the next plan we are having now. In a few weeks, we are going to call an executive meeting so that we discuss about it and finalize it and know how to get the firefighting equipment to secure our market.
I think at this point, that's actually the best step to take, at least, having access to some of these equipments to protect yourself and your property, because you know how much you spend, getting some of these items for your shop. So protecting yourself first before the government comes in. And once again, we sympathize with you and your people and the traders in Alaba Market over the incident. And we hope that, you do whatever it takes to protect yourselves and your property moving forward. Thank you very much, Mr. Udoka Okechukwu Nwanko, for sharing your insights, and experiences with us. The Alaba Market fire once again highlights, the urgent need for better fire prevention systems, stronger emergency response units, and also improved coordination between government agencies and the communities that they serve.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
It's a pleasure. Now, we'll take a break now. We'll return in a moment. Please stay.
Now, with 2 years still to go until Nigeria's 2027 general elections, the political atmosphere is already heating up. And not entirely according to the rules now. Across the country, campaign posters and materials for the 2027 elections have begun appearing in major cities despite INEC's clear ban on premature campaigns. In states like Kogi and others, of course, the ruling party rallies and billboards have already been spotted in key public spaces. From rallies in Kogi to campaign billboards, posters emerging in several states, appears that political parties, including the ruling APC, are already setting the stage for 2027.
Well, today the electoral umpire finds itself under intense scrutiny because observers and civil society groups are calling on INEC to act swiftly and decisively. Otherwise, they warn the competitive playing field may be skewed before the race even formally begins. Now, joining us to discuss this, we have Sowore Seruwaja, a lawyer and public affairs analyst. Together, we'll explore what these early campaign activities say about the enforcement of Nigeria's election laws, whether INEC's silence or inaction could undermine fairness and credibility in the 2027 polls. And finally, what must be done now to preserve the integrity of the electoral process? Thank you so much for joining us on Breakfast Extra, Sowore.
You're welcome and good morning.
Good morning.
Now, INEC has come under fire as campaign posters for 2027 are already surfacing nationwide, despite a clear electoral ban. From a legal standpoint, how much power does INEC really have to enforce compliance before the official campaign period?
Let me first of all take us through the provision of the law that regards to a campaign, or that gives the power, or that establish the INEC, which is the electoral body, and also that gives them power to function. If you look at the provision of the Constitution, which is the mother of all laws, you look at it that if you look at from section 221 to 227 creates the provision for creates INEC, recognize INEC as the electoral body to conduct election in Nigeria, and also spell out some of the functions of INEC, and also create some responsibility entrusted to INEC. Then if you also look at section 2 of the Electoral Act 2022, it also clearly spell out the provision of the functions and powers of INEC. So let's look at the provision of the Constitution. The Constitution clearly stated that INEC has the power to register and deregister a political party. Also talks about the issue of INEC inspecting the financial books of a political party, and also give INEC the power to take custody of money sourced from money source outside Nigeria. Then if you also look at it, it created a provision whereby by section 227 of the electoral of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria now creates a dicey position whereby it gives the power to the National Assembly to prescribe what could be known as an offense or what could be known as a breach of political parties or individuals. And he stated it clearly. If you look at it, referred to section 221, which has to do with individuals or association promoting election. So now let's boil down to the Electoral Act. If you look at the Electoral Act did not give INEC any power to, do you understand, to prosecute or at the same time stop anything that has to do with campaign. Then if you look at it holistically, what we'll be looking at is section 95 of the Electoral Act 2025 that talks about what a public campaign should be. And a public campaign, if you look at it carefully, it mentions certain categories that can be described as campaign. You look at the issue of the state apparatus. What should be the state apparatus? We talk about state medias and every other stuff. Then you also look at public media. What should be public media should become issue of like your station now, which can be made public, or let's just say all this digital billboard operated by government. You look at the signposts operated by government. Then if you go further, you now look at the issue of newspaper publication and all those stuff. So when you look at it holistically, you discover that at this point in time, you will now look at what a public campaign means by the Electoral Act. Public campaign, by virtue of section 152 of the Electoral Act, talks or made it clear to the public that public campaign is known as the day or period in which INEC declare, which is the 160 days as declared prior to the election, then and ought to stop 24 hours before the poll day. So these are the distinct. Who is a candidate that can be caught up with that within that provision of the law is someone who has been nominated by a political party. So all these posters you are seeing cannot fall under this provision as I've explained by the Constitution or the Electoral Act. And surprising to say that if you look at the case of Atiku and INEC, I think it's a case decided in 2023. The Supreme Court said that the rules and regulation of INEC as a body cannot supersede or contravene express provision of the Electoral Act. So irrespective of whatever INEC is going to do now, their hands are tied because you cannot in any way, by virtue of the Interpretation Act of Public Campaigning or by virtue of the Interpretation Act of a candidate, you cannot in any way infer or construe this to be public campaign, as he said.
It's actually a good thing you pointed all of these out, Sowore, but many Nigerians have actually said that INEC's response has been slow or weak. And we want to ask, do you think INEC is being too lenient, or are their hands tied by the Electoral Act and enforcement limitations?
First of all, there's nothing to enforce there. That is one thing I should understand. Okay. Then two, INEC does not have the constitutional or legislative backing to enforce anything that has to do with campaign. That has to do with what is happening now. Because another thing we should also look at, does the law provide or does the law describe what a public campaign is or what campaign should be? If the answer is yes, and I can take you to the Electoral Act, which I talked about, the Interpretation Act. So the other thing again is INEC is kind of, their hands are tied because they don't have such power. And two, the issue of campaign has to do with candidates and political party. And you see these people coming at, you can be as well known that, okay, they can be traced to a political party. And as Tinubu is today, it cannot be said by virtue of the Electoral Act and by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that is a candidate, is the nominated candidate of APC as it is, or Atiku of another political party, or Peter Obi of another political party. It cannot be said to be so until they conduct their primaries. So what we should be looking at is that does INEC has that power? The answer is no. Then two, is there any breach to the Electoral Act currently as it stands now by virtue of the laws I've just mentioned or just quoted? Because we work by law, we act by law, and anything that ought to bring anything that has to do with sanction, if you look at section 36 subsection 8 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, it must be something known by law. So it's as a result of ignorance that the public is crying, but we could also make sure that these areas of concern raised by the public should be acted upon by what? Amending the Electoral Act to give INEC power or to give other agencies power to deal with this kind of situation.
Now, some of these posters clearly show names and faces of known politicians. Should INEC sanction these individuals or their parties, or does the law require proof that the candidates themselves authorized the materials?
Well, if INEC want to sanction, INEC will sanction under, it's not even INEC, it's left for the court. INEC is to report to the police that have the bigger power to investigate and also prosecute any criminal case through the office of the Attorney General of the Federation. Now, if you look at the area that will be looked at in that regard, knowing the faces, individuals, political party, it has to do with section 94, subsection 2 of the Electoral Act, which talks about, it was specific as to candidates, political party who publicize, advertise, they understand, for the purpose of what? Between the 24 hours to the polls. Let me use the word, within 24 hours of the polls. So all what is going on now is not envisaged by the Electoral Act and cannot be said to be contrary to the provision of the Electoral Act. That is what I'm saying. Do you understand? That is what I'm saying, because the Electoral Act define what should be a public campaign. And if the Electoral Act has stated this, no rules or regulation of INEC can contravene this provision, express provision of the Electoral Act or any area of the Constitution that says this. So these are the issues. So INEC cannot do anything. Even if they trace it to a political party, yes. Does the law provide that public campaign should not be done? Let me use this word, should not be done. What the law only defines is what a public campaign should be, and it should be within 180 days. So, but it did not say that it should not be done. That is one thing you should understand. It should not say that it should not be done. Then the other area is these people the candidate? As at this time, can we say these people that their faces are showing are the candidates? I'll use that word again. Candidate of the political party? The answer is no.
All right. So earlier you did mention that the hands of INEC is kind of tied, but how damaging is this situation to their credibility, especially considering the trust deficit following the 2023 elections?
Well, I can't say it's damaged because as it stands now, we won't say that. If you look at the provisions I've quoted, particularly if you look at that section 221 down to 227, that also creates the functions of INEC. Then if you also look at section 2 of the Electoral Act 2022, you discover that the functions of INEC did not in any way has been affected by what is going on now in the public domain. Do you understand? Then the other issue of credibility, the issue of credibility goes beyond the fact that, okay, INEC is said to do this and they didn't do it. And I will challenge anybody to come up to say, okay, where in the Electoral Act or in the Constitution or any known law that provides INEC to prosecute or to provide INEC, do you understand, to sanction any person? I'll use the word because as it is now, these are individuals who are trying to canvass within the fold of the public or their political parties. Some of them are just ghost chasers, while some of them are potential candidates. But it comes to play to contravene the provision of the law when those areas are clearly spelled out by the law. Remember, like I said, the regulation of INEC, these are regulation of INEC, yes, and it's also subject to the provision of the law. And INEC in its own volution does not have the power to sanction. It must definitely go to the court. And when it goes to the court, all these are issues that will come. So it has nothing to do with the credibility of INEC. But another thing again, it has, in a sane society, it has so many things to do as to the candidature of the individual. Because in the UK, not everything is law. but there are things we call morals and there are things we call high standard of a leader. So those are issues that the public as Nigerians will look at, that, okay, why are you going this extent? And you could see that these are played out in several political atmosphere outside Nigeria in the developed country. So it has nothing to do with the credibility of INEC.
Now, Mr. Sowore, politicians often claim the supporters, printed these posters without their knowledge. How can this loophole be closed legally to ensure accountability?
Yeah, this is where the civil society comes in now. This is where the civil society comes in. The civil society has looked at the loopholes in the law and they've seen it to be a problem in the society. Now, what they should be pushing for is for the amendment of the Electoral Act to define what campaign should be, to define the extent of campaign and all that stuff. Yes, individuals can do that, even opponents. I could recall that the NBA conference that was just concluded, when we're going through clauses of the amended NBA constitution, it was struck down when there was a provision of the NBA, which is Nigeria Bar Association constitution, that talks about campaign, issue of printing of this, and people in a reasonable terms said it can be done by opposition. What will you say? So that can only come under that section 94, subsection 3, which also clearly stated that when the person is convicted, and that is within the window of 24 hours, a campaign, public campaign close or campaign close 24 hours to the polls. So anybody that does that, printing posters and all those stuff, that is where offense comes in. And what should be the process of INEC on that? INEC just need to petition the person or the people to the police. So they can't do anything. So for what we should be thinking of is how that this vacuum will identify to become a problem in the society to be put into the Electoral Act. So, but for now, INEC is kind of handicapped. The society need to be educated as to these are the process and this is what this means.
All right. Well, you've actually spoken very well about how the civil society, what they need to do to ensure that this premature campaign culture does not erode the spirit of the Electoral Act, and also before the election season even begins. And you did mention that this pre-election activity should be treated as an electoral offense. And, you talked about the police being responsible for the enforcement as well, right?
Yeah, let me correct. I didn't say it should be treated as an electoral offense because there is no law provided that makes such a provision. Do you understand? I did say that. Then another thing again is that I also did not. I also said that yes, the police are subject when a law is made to be an offense, pre-election activities to be an offense. Yes, the police has that power because they are the watchman to the criminal in the gate of the criminal justice system. They have that power. Then also I will also say, in addition to the fact that where INEC can also come in is to see that they check the books, financial books of political parties, so they'll be able to look at where expenditure comes in and out. But that does not automatically transmit into an offense or sanction that can be made by virtue of any no law that governs the electoral process in Nigeria.
Most big thank you to you, Mr. Sowore, for having this conversation with us.
You're welcome.
Still watching Breakfast Extra. We have more stories after this break. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Breakfast Extra, and still talking about some of our big stories. We're slowly gearing up to the final hour. In a dramatic move yesterday evening, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu sacked and replaced all the top service chiefs of the Nigerian Armed Forces, including the Chief of Defense Staff and the Chiefs of Army, Air and Naval Staff. Now, according to the official statement, these changes are part of an effort to strengthen Nigeria's national security architecture. However, the timing is raising eyebrows And the reshuffle comes weeks after reports emerged of around 16 senior military officers being arrested for allegedly plotting a coup against the government, a claim that the military officially denies.
Now, the opposition and many observers are now demanding clarity. The African Democratic Congress has called on the president to tell Nigerians the real reason behind the sudden and wholesale change. So this morning, we will unpack the questions that matter. Was this purely a security-driven decision aimed at tackling insurgency, banditry, and separatist violence, or is it a sign of deeper unrest within the military and a government seeking to show up its position ahead of 2027? And also, what does these shakeups mean for Nigeria's democracy, stability, and chain of command? Join us for this conversation and this discussion are Chidi Omeje, publisher, Security Digest, and Roy Okidiebe, who's a National Secretary, retired members of Nigerian Armed Forces. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. Now, let's begin with you, Chidi. This came as a sudden but decisive move by the president, even though he did say that it is routine and, all service chiefs were out, new ones in. From your observation and experience covering Nigeria's security sector, what do you think prompted this sweeping shakeup?
Usually, anytime you see this kind of shakeup, people usually come up with all manner of permutations, and of course, some even go as far as even some conspiracy theories. But like we all know, this is just part of part of military thing. No post remains eternal, and they're not elected, so their tenure is not guaranteed. So if the president, in his wisdom, consider the fact that he wants to, maybe, have a change in, have fresh ideas and fresh perspectives in the entire, defense architecture, and nothing stops him from doing that. So, but then again, you can understand those who try to put two and two together to form one conspiracy theory or the other, probably because of the recent happenings. Some of the rumors that that are going around, people begin to link one or two things together. So these are the issues. But ordinarily, these guys have already served up to 2 years, and I think that 2 years is just enough for any military commander or service chief to stamp his feet and make a statement in his position. So to me, it's not unusual, but naturally, Nigerians, are given to this kind of speculations, theories, conspiracy theories, and conjectures. So it's something that we are used to.
I'll come to you now, Dr. Roy. Now, as someone with deep roots in the military establishment, what does this kind of shake-up mean for Nigeria at the moment?
Well, thank you very much, and with all due respect to my co-guest and the co-host, how many years now? Let's look like 20 years. And we have been saying the same thing. Now, the military is not like any other institution. The military has a cultural bias against every other institution. It is a conglomerate of persons that have citizenry of a country and lay down their lives for that country. This is a group of people that you can blow the whistle, they will go and arm themselves and engage. No matter what the rules of engagement is, whether it's favorable to them or not, they engage. This is a set of people that they must increase and maintain a high morale at all times, because they need that high morale to be able to engage. These are a set of people that need to maintain a cultural balance, a tradition that will encourage loyalty to hierarchy. Now, every time we see politicians just jump into the military and just shake everywhere, you know, and it brings a lot of disgruntlement and it encourages disloyalty and people start to sectionalize. So I think that the president has the right to say, okay, I need to re-strategize my security and all whatnot. But against changing chiefs and removing heads of military commands, there are major things that are being neglected. And just like you want to make your food and you don't have a heater, you don't have a stove, a gas, hello, major foundational defects that we expect this presidency to have addressed. Major issues that have been tabled to this presidency that have not been addressed. Even exiting presidencies and current presidencies. And we fear that other presidencies coming into the establishment of the democratic leadership of Nigeria will not see this defect if we don't hammer it home every time. Thank you.
Very valid points you've made there, Doctor. Now, coming back to you, Chidi, this particular change, you know, we all know follows reports, though officially denied, and that's why we say it's alleged, of a possible coup plot, you know, involving 16 senior officers. Do you see any connection between these rumors and the president's decision to overhaul the service chiefs?
Of course, you know that when the rumor came up, you know, the military authorities, by the DHQ, for instance, denied it flatly, said that nothing like that, you know, and stop. And the government has not come out to expressly confirm the story. So as it is now, we're just working on the speculations in the media. So I don't know. Coup is a very secretive, you know, enterprise, and you know it's difficult for me and you to, you know, from our sideline to actually confirm that something like that had happened. So if DHQ says there was no coup and the federal government has not confirmed that, yet the rumor persists. But then now it's left for you and I to make our own deductions. But then again, you could see that the timing of this change is what eliciting this, you know, connection. People begin to, you know, think, oh, wait a minute, why all of a sudden these guys have been changed? Just at the time when we are hearing about rumors of coup, then there's this change. So people are bound, and indeed you have to be fair to them if they begin to make begin to connect dots to that extent. But a little bit back to what my colleague said. To me, I do not think that there is anything very unusual when service chiefs who have spent up to 2 years have been removed. If they have been removed, essentially when you know that the security challenges are selling the country is still as formidable as ever. So there's need actually, if the president considers so, there's the need for fresh ideas, fresh perspectives. And I don't think that those that were changed, must be even advanced time to say, okay, gentlemen, prepare in the next 3 months or next 4 months, we'll change you. It has never happened like that. We know that even in the past, so there are some service chiefs. I remember when Dambaza was chief of minister, I think he was even outside the country when he was changed. So I think this is just the nature of the job, and Nigerians have gotten used to it, even if it is not conventional or other places. But the important thing is that as far as Nigerians are concerned, whatever will give impetus to, what will give us what we want in terms of results, if that will stabilize the country, that will reduce the tension in the land, whatever can bring respite to the people who have been under, severe violent attacks across the country, northeast where we have terrorism, northwest where we have banditry, and elsewhere where you have these serious security challenges. So anything, if any fresh ideas to give us the new respite is welcome by Nigerians, as far as I'm concerned. So I do not remember that when Buratai and co were there, the former president allowed them to run up to 6 years. And that disrupted so many things in the system, so that people's career in the military were jeopardized because of such, unnecessarily long tenure. So if these guys have been eased off, probably to bring in fresh ideas, by all means, is welcome by me. So that's what I see. But back to the question, I think that Nigerians are actually, you have to be fair to Nigerians if they decide to collect dots to say, the witchcraft last night and the child died this morning. There was a coup rumor the other day, and today these guys have been removed. Maybe there's a nexus. I don't know, but like I said, it's just within media conjecture. Yeah.
I'd like to direct the same question to you, Dr. Roy. Do you think that this alleged coup plot is in any way connected to this sudden shake-up amongst service chiefs?
Well, there are some level of restrictions when you want to talk about a coup d'etat speculation. Now, let's first of all look at the structure that gives the enablement. Let's look at the Armed Forces Remembrance Day. Was there any changes in the normal parade? Let's look at the other countries in Africa that are operating military junta leadership, and how they were formidable against the ECOWAS and the AU, and they stood all the harassment, and they succeeded and survived. And now they are tackling Western nations, talking against them, booting them out of their country. And don't you think this will be attractive to other democratic African countries? Let's talk about the United Nations, which is the home of accountability to all nations, which can come up tomorrow and say, other nations of the Western world move to Nigeria and kick out that military junta there. What has the United Nations been able to achieve since, especially after the COVID and during that COVID? All its wings were chopped off. The issue going up between NATO, Ukraine, and Russia right now, you have seen how it's going. Even Britain now, the whole of the UK are running into Brexit, and power sharing is reducing globally. So what do you think will intimidate any military officer that want to plan a coup d'etat in Nigeria, apart from internal control and restriction? So right now, every African nation has attractiveness towards trying that angle to help themselves, because definitely there are smaller nations that are existing now, and the Western world could not neutralize the junta there. Let's move forward. Now, if you look at the possibilities of a coup d'etat in Nigeria, you will agree with me that most times the number of people you need to plan a coup d'etat is just a few crop of officers. You don't really need the whole army, because command and control can carry over any kind of deterrence. Now, if you look at the military officers that have been called on board and the ones that have been asked to leave, there is no arrest for military officers that we have a list right now. That's why I'm telling you guys that we should hold on this discussion of coup or no coup, and really look at why these officers were changed and why we have not been able to neutralize this vulnerability of terrorism that is plaguing the country right now, which the military has been pushed forward as the only mandate that can exterminate terrorism. And that was wrong, because it is not the military that should exterminate terrorism. There are whole gamut of lines of responsibility to other security agencies that have not been exploited.
Dr. Roy, rather, you just said that you know, it's not the military's major job now to tackle terrorism. Other security agencies should also be, you know, in line with things as regards fighting terrorism. Can you be more specific as to which other security agencies should be fighting terrorism?
Thank you very much. You know, I get pained when I hear that people die and daily communities are routed by ragtag non-state actors that carry weapons. You know, when I was serving, we had some officers then that when they say let's go, we go. We don't listen. There is no phone call. There's no phone unless you go to the one you used Nitel and stuff. You know, so there is this specific capacity that the Nigerian military has. If it is external, we come back with medals. If it is internal, if the police are withdrawing, military is coming, everybody runs away. Because no story, we don't come back with any pictures, we don't come back with any story. Now, if you see terrorism fledgling in Nigeria, there are institutions that are supposed to chop the wings. Number one thing a terrorist needs is to recruit people. Number two, the terrorist needs space for training. And Nigeria now, we call it unpoliced area. Why is the place unpoliced? When people are living there and they are paying taxes. They are paying taxes and they are within the territorial integrity of the country. Why are citizens not employed en masse into the police and increase the number of policing per citizen, per kilometer, per community? Why not? Why not take that as a mandate? Because the monies that are supposed to go into that will definitely have to come out from the monies that are being diverted. Now let's look at the financial sector. Terrorists need to move money. They do money laundering, they do cash movement, and they need finances. Sometimes they go into kidnapping to also raise finances. Now, the financial system in Nigeria that I know, I have paid money into one of my driver's accounts. The account was blocked because he has not had that kind of money in his account before. But today, people move money from accounts and nothing constrains that illegality. Let's look at the mineral resources in Nigeria. Everywhere mineral resources are deployed in Nigeria, why is it that there's always crisis and unconstitutionality in those areas? Look at Zamfara, look at everywhere where you have mineral resources. And these terrorists, they need those kind of conflict-prone areas to increase recruitment. Let's look at the National Orientation Agency. What level of orientation do you think they have been doing to remove the radicalization, the opportunities for these people? Let's look at the DSS. The DSS is supposed to be a ghost in everywhere in Nigeria. The same DSS are not able to unplug cells that terrorists are building around. You can't, you look at the correctional center. Immediately terrorist suspects are arrested with ammunition, with evidence, with flags of terrorism, They are taken into correctional centers and they are separated into a de-radicalization process that they said will be recycling them repentant personnel. Where are the ones that were not repentant? Were they eliminated for murder, for killing, taking lives? Did the Constitution strangulate them with penalties? Let's forward again, go to the NDLEA is just too much. Right now, if NDLEA is doing a silent drill, killing and hitting the nail on the head. Forget the NDLEA, go to the customs, where people must move things by water, by air, by land. What is the capability of the customs to sincerely, faithfully, loyally, and patriotic attack illegality and movement of things? You move to immigration. Now, this our new Minister of Interior is doing a lot to rejig some of the processes there. How many people has NIN that are purely citizens of Nigeria? What is the process to attack people that are not and live in Nigeria, do businesses, open accounts, get CAC, and they are not critically scrutinized? So these are all the places that terrorists can penetrate and begin to hold ground, raise flags, collect taxes. Government is collecting taxes. So you cannot tell me that it is the military, the military, the military. And I said no. Before the guys get strengthened, we have institutions that can continue to weaken their opportunities. They are not doing their job.
Okay, now you've actually spoken, very, very well. But let's hear from Chidi as well, because we know that beyond politics, Nigeria is still battling multiple security fronts, insurgency, banditry, separatist violence as well. Chidi, what should these new service chiefs prioritize to restore public confidence in the military's effectiveness?
And just before I take that question, I need to add to what my colleague have said, rightly pointed out, because each time you run what we call root cause analysis of this persistent insecurity in the country, you get to see all these factors he laid down. But the chief, what is at the heart of what this is mentioned, is bad governance. Because bad governance is what give rise to some of these lacuna he has just outlined. So if you have the government that really understands the intricacies of security issues, they will be able to take care of some of those things he has mentioned. And then back to the question you asked, I think that the good thing about these new service chiefs is that most of them, especially let's say, for instance, the new chief of army staff, he is in the thick of things. He just, I think he just finished a tour of duty as the commander of the operation Hadin Kai at a point. So, meaning that he has been in the theaters, he understands exactly the enormity of the challenges. And then of course, as a whole, the service chiefs will understand that the country is assailed from north to east to west to south. They will understand that terrorism is here, banditry is rife, secession agitation and all manner of things are there in the east. Then the attacks on a maritime asset is life and thriving. So they understand that issues are there and that Nigerians need respite. And so that's why I spoke about probably the need for new ideas, fresh perspective, new initiatives, that they might come with. Not that they are not already part of the system, but being in the driver's seat now, they should be able to bring to bear those experiences they've had in the past to deal with the situation. But then again, I want them not to work in silos. I'd like to see a robust, synergy between and among military, security, intelligence, and response agencies in the country. I want to see a situation where the ground troops and the air power are able to work, seamlessly, so that this ground troops will not be stranded at any point, and they will not have any any aid cover. I want to see a situation where you see special forces from the Navy and special forces from the Air Force helping out when issues are there in any theater. I want to see a situation where you don't have, even in terms of information management, Nigerians are tired of seeing spokespersons speaking at cross purposes. I want them to work in collaboration, in synergy, so that they have to speak in one voice, so that they can, they will not confuse Nigerians and embarrass the government. So when all these things are sort of synergy established, you'll see that the results will be coming out. Yes, another thing again that we need to speak about, that these new chiefs must understand that they should prioritize welfare of troops, because troops are the ones who do the job, as a matter of fact. So if you do not take care of them, if you do not motivate them, if their morale is not high, you can't get the result. The new chief of defense staff, who was just immediate past chief of army staff, he came out with what he called soldier first principle or concept. What he meant was that the soldier is the fulcrum, in fact, is the thing about the Nigerian army. That if you don't take care of the soldier, then you have not started at all, because it's the soldier that do the job. So I'd like that policy to continue. I'd like to see the new army chief go, doing more in that regard, because I want to see our soldiers going out there in the field, well motivated, with a good equipment, because if you provide them with the appropriate equipment they need, that's part of the welfare I'm talking about. Because if you give them the right tools to work with, they will give you optimal results. I want to see, such level of motivation for our troops, so that not just while they're in the field, but even as have to do with their family members. I'd like to see the family of the soldiers having that confidence that even if anything happens to their breadwinner, that they will not be thrown out of barracks just like that, or that even surveillance package will not be there, and their pensions and all those things. People tell stories about them. So if we straighten all those things, and it's not difficult to do, it's just a matter of having that sense of duty, having that at the back of your mind that you can't get the best of results if the troops are not taken care of. So the third thing again is I need them to work well with the media, my own constituency, because the media, they want to call war of narratives, and the media is of course is a very big instrument in that regard. If you are able to cultivate the respect, the collaboration, the partnership, and the support of the media, it goes a long way. Because most times, one of the challenges we actually face is the issue of confidentiality. Everything they will say is confidence, restricted. You don't want to release information. What do you expect the media man to do? He has a responsibility to inform the public. So if you keep losing time,
because we're pressed for time. I don't know if you can hear me. Mr. Chidi, can you hear me?
So these are the issues put together. Yeah, are you there?
Mr. Chidi, can you hear me? All right. What I want to ask is, because you mentioned it now, when we look at the new set of service chiefs, majority of them are new, but for the now Chief of Defense Staff, I'm talking about Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede, who used to be the Chief of Army Staff. Now that he is the Chief of Defense Staff, do you think that he might be more effective in that position, or in this position? Does it change anything?
You said that most of them are new. They're not new. I'm
talking about as service chiefs now. That's what I mean. I said majority of them are, aside the now Chief of Defense Staff.
Okay, fine. It will not be a new thing to him. It is a commander. He has always been in that, in such level. So being good enough is coming from the position as Chief of Army Staff to now occupy Chief of Defense Staff. So he has adequate knowledge of what is called out for him to do. So for me, it's even a better way to prepare him, because he's already in the system. He knows exactly the challenges out there in the theaters. So he knows exactly that he knows how to go about his command duties. So to me, is an added advantage for him, having had that robust experience as the Chief of Army Staff. So it will be easy for him to actually do the job better than those who is coming from a different background without such experience. So to me, it's a good advantage for him. That's what I think.
All right, now let's quickly come to you, Dr. Kedive. Looking at the broader picture, do you see this as a positive reset for national security, or could it further unsettle an already fragile relationship that's between the military and civilian authority?
Thank you very much. Let me first say this, that when the former chief of staffs were brought in, including this CDS, and the Inspector General of Police also was brought in, I said it. I said they cannot achieve anything. See, we are only going around in circles. And at the end of the day, you will now hear, it is not a problem of this regime. These are things that were brought from the other tenure. It is not, see, these chief of army staffs, they are not magicians. They are not going to be interfacing with terrorism in the terrorist enclave. They will be giving instructions to human beings who are Nigerians. Let me first take you quietly to Oshodi. There is a place we call Oshodi, Resettlement Center, where soldiers that are disengaging from service are taken there to learn trade, and at this era that we are, somebody disengaging from service of 35 years is being taught carpentry and other things. Then they said there is a starter pack that they will pay to you. As I speak to you now, there is controversy on where is our starter pack. Some don't even know the amount. So the discrepancy in the management of the personnel has dilapidated their loyalty, followership, and patriotism. You see, Nigeria has the highest level of patriotic military personnel in the world. Go and check. Just take Nigerian troops outside, see what they achieve. Now, look forward to the judiciary. These chiefs, they need to go to the judiciary. They need to sit down with the Minister of Justice and all the chief judge of the Federation and say, how can you expedite penalties, actually giving these people the penalty of what they commit when we bring them to you? Because you know how demoralizing it is when I know one bagger that brought down my guys and he's wearing a cloak, they say he's being de-radicalized. Do you know? And do you know that beyond the judiciary that is already handicapped, there is this fear of international prognosing, because we want to get loan from abroad, we want to get equipment from abroad. You remember the Kanu will not give you. Till today, the almighty Kanu came. I'm not seeing the effect. Now, let's look at the human rights abuse claims. Will that also not estrange performance from the men? Let's go forward again and say, what level of interactive alliances does the agencies in Nigeria have? Where is the collaboration, exchange of intelligence? Now, continuity is also perfected in instruction and constitution. So all the army policy, the military, the navy, and the air force, where is the continuity on some areas that you will tell the incoming, don't touch this place, it is materializing? Because any new person that comes, everybody will say rejig. The name has become like a name of a pet. Let's rejig the security. And they will find financing opportunities for themselves. Those officers that are leaving now, do you think they will go through military pension board and be taking those peanuts and be waiting for one payment or the other. They have to settle themselves, because the exit plan is already truncated to achieve the comfort and stability that I will envisage, so that I will not be derailing in my discipline and integrity. So there is a big problem. They are not going to achieve anything. We are still going around. After they maybe calm the thing down, they will go and negotiate. Later, the bandits will come and negotiate. Later, you will hear a whole community, 30, 100 people are killed. A bandit is releasing abductees now. Go and check the number in the territorial integrity of Nigeria. And we are saying we are fighting terrorism. We are fighting ourselves. We are not ready.
Dr. Roy, let me ask you, the position, of course, says that Nigeria deserves a transparency on why these sackings happened. Do you think the presidency owes Nigerians that?
Let me say this. Military or security intervention, you hear things like national security interest. And when it comes to national security interest, it's a need to know basis. It's not everything that you should know. As I'm sitting here now, there are things that I know when I was in service. So many veterans, it will die with us. We cannot exchange it, even if we are not paid development allowance in bulk. We cannot exchange such information. Now, what is going on in the military, if there is something going on, it cannot come to the public the way the public wants it. It's not two musicians having issue. It's not in the educational sector. It's not in the hospitality, tourism industry. No, this is the military. There are things there that cannot come out. And if the government think that certain levels of information is necessary to create a balance to the public, I think that will be released to the public.
All right. Well, I think with that, we've actually wrapped up the conversation. But thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time and for speaking to us on this.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to have you as well. All right, well, we'll take a break now, and when we come back, we will definitely be talking about what we have to talk about. That's the World Polio Day, keeping every child safe from a preventable disease, and then we will be wrapping up the show. Do stay with us. Well, yesterday marked World Polio Day, a global reminder of how far we've come in the fight against one of the the world's most devastating diseases, and how much work still lies ahead. For decades, vaccination has saved millions of children from paralysis and death. And Nigeria, once one of the last countries battling the wild polio virus, was declared polio-free in 2020, a milestone made possible through years of hard work by health workers, community volunteers, and global partners. But sustaining that success means ensuring that no child is left unvaccinated.
Now, this year's theme focuses on protecting every child, strengthening routine immunization, and building trust in vaccines. As misinformation and insecurity threaten access in some communities, experts warn that complacency is not an option. So today, we're asking, how far has Nigeria really come in maintaining its polio-free status? What more needs to be done to protect our children and communities? Join us here in the studio to discuss this is Dr. Yusuf Ademola Harini, the founder of Love for Health organization. He says he's probably known as Dr. Love. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
So, of course, we celebrated World Polio Day yesterday. What is the central message for this year's celebration?
Thank you very much for this important information and this question. The aim of this year's information is to prevent polio and eradicate polio completely from the surface of the earth. As we are talking now, there are 2 countries that still have the wild polio virus, one. And these countries are Afghanistan and Pakistan. The reason why these countries have it is because they don't allow their people, especially the newborns, to be vaccinated with polio. Because of religious reasons, illiteracy, ignorance, and also their terrain is very, very tough. Because in Afghanistan, even that's why when the US wanted to invade there, they found it difficult. The place is very, very difficult. We are lucky here in Africa, there is no wild polio vaccine, virus, because of the vaccination. Although there's another type which is evolving even in Nigeria, in Democratic Republic of Congo. So we have the circulating derived polio virus. And this is because some people are not still taking vaccination, especially in the northern part of Nigeria. And Maiduguri was the state where the last polio was found. So we need to encourage them. The government needs to do more. We encourage them. We appreciate that they have been able to provide polio vaccination free of charge to all children, especially the newborns. But we need to make sure that we maintain it, because if they stop it, there could be a mutation in the polio virus and some people might get infected.
Well, I remember just like it was yesterday, you know, when Nigeria was certified polio-free in 2020.
5 years now.
Yeah, 4 or 5, okay, yeah, 5 years. Now, 5 years later, how well would you say has Nigeria maintained that status?
Currently, Nigeria is still recorded, according to World Health, as having 0 polio infection. But we still need to maintain it, because for you to certify that there is no polio, you have to look at decades, 10 years, 20 years, or even more. Like in Egypt and other African countries, they have not even had the polio virus for decades and more. So good thing that Nigeria has 5 years, but we have to still ensure that everybody is vaccinated, especially the newborns. They have to be given what we call OPV, oral polio vaccine. You have OPV1, OPV2, OPV3. So when we were a kid, when I was a kid, I'm talking of close to 4 decades ago, even women used to go to houses in the polio uniform and they give every child there, they knock the gate, they give them the vaccine and they take it. Even till date, some people are still going. Health, they call them community health workers, community health extension workers. They go to houses, they give every child their polio vaccine and they tick the gate or mark the gate or write something on the wall.
Well, speaking of, you know, these community health workers, are they doing enough to educate, you know, the people in the north, you know, about the importance of the polio vaccines? Because there's this belief in the north that it causes infertility.
Yes, what you said is very, very true. They are to do more than what they are doing. They are doing their best. But you also know, due to this banditry, insurgency, terrorism in the north, many of them are scared of their lives and they are afraid to go into these rural areas.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because it's something which has to be eradicated for decades, as I said. For decades, it shouldn't even come up, because if one single person has a polio, and it's very obvious to know when somebody has a polio, they have the paralysis of the lower limbs, they can't walk, and it's so sad. If one person has it, statistics has shown that many people in that society are carriers. It's just like if one person has a manifestation of an infection, there is a high tendency that a herd, that is a large number of people in that society, have the infection. I'll give a good example. It's like HIV virus now. They are all viral infection, or hepatitis. If one person is showing a manifestation of HIV or hepatitis, there's a high tendency that many people have been infected due to their intermingling and things like that. In polio, it is even worse. So that is why it has to be eradicated completely, even in the north. Because if one person is showing manifestation or is infected, there's a higher tendency that many people have contracted this disease or this infection, this viral infection. So it's something which has to be taken. I still believe that the government, especially the state government, the local government, and their emirs, their rulers, have a big role to play to educate them that they should all take this. And also, it's a misnomer thinking that, oh, the polio causes infertility. No. There's no research that has linked polio. Some of them also have this misconception that the West is trying to reduce our population, like Bill Gates, who has been funding polio and many things, many voluntary charity works in Africa. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. But many people think, oh, Bill Gates wants to eradicate, reduce the population, reduce our population. It's just like the COVID also. Many of them thought, oh, the COVID vaccine, don't take it. If you take it, it's going to reduce population, it's going to cause infertility and things like this. I think these are just misnomers. They are not based. There's no basis for it, and it's not founded.
What do you think is responsible for all these beliefs? Do you think it's lack of education?
Absolutely. Lack of education is number one. Ignorance. And one of the things is, I read a book which says, don't take polio vaccine, if not you will develop the polio. And they started ruling out some people that had the symptoms or that had the polio. Many of them, they have had this polio before even taking the vaccine. Yes, because some of them have taken it late. It's advisable that at birth, you give, there are certain vaccines you give at birth. BCG, one of it is for tuberculosis, vaccine for tuberculosis. Another one is OPV, oral polio vaccine. So it is good that once a baby is born, you give the vaccine. Then also there are durations, also schedules of immunization where the baby keeps taking it for a period of time. So the person will develop full immunity. Now, this polio vaccine we are taking, we should know that you are still introducing the polio virus to the child, but at a low dose so that the child will develop immunity. So I'm hoping that one day we would have HIV vaccine so that, but in that process, someone might introduce the HIV as a low dose to someone and the person develops immunity, but there has not been confirmed cases of HIV vaccine yet. There are also some vaccines which they are working on in Russia, vaccines against cancer. Cancer is another deadly disease that is killing people in the world. So we hope that we get to that stage in medicine and technology where we develop vaccines for some deadly diseases like HIV, cancer, and on a lighter note, maybe there will be even vaccines for politicians also to stop corruption.
Interesting.
Very funny.
That's the ones you look up forward to at the end of the day.
Right.
But besides awareness, what other challenges are we facing right now in terms of making sure that every child in Nigeria is vaccinated?
Funding. And that's why I said corruption in a rhetorical way. Because some of these vaccines also, which have been given free by the USAID, by WHO, UNICEF, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, some corrupt politicians are monetizing it, hoarding it, just as they hoarded the COVID palliatives and they hoarded even the COVID vaccines. So this is one of it. Ignorance and illiteracy is number one. Number two is corruption and lack of political will by the leaders. They are corrupt and they are not allowing the vaccines to spread. Some people even in position of authority, like the emirs, the leaders, the chairman of local governments, some governors, senators, they want a part or a region of Nigeria to still remain poor and to still remain ignorant. And because of this, there's association of diseases, widespread diseases in that area. Where there's ignorance, there is also a high level of poverty and disease, high burden of disease. Because they don't even have money to take care of themselves.
Absolutely. Beyond government's effort, what role does community, or what role do communities and parents have to play in ensuring a polio-free Nigeria?
Yes, what they can all do, and which I appeal to every mother in particular and every community, is to make sure that once you have a child, you take your child or your baby to the nearest health center, primary health center, to take this vaccine. It is free, completely free, at least in government hospitals. Maybe in some private hospitals, they pay for it. But in government hospitals, the government has tried to make sure that everybody gets it free of charge. So this is the role the community can play. Is also health education and health advocacy, to make sure that they keep educating themselves, like what we are doing here, to educate people to ensure that they are polio-free and they take the vaccine. But on the long run, I score the government well in terms of polio vaccination, because as at now, Nigeria, and not only Nigeria, Africa has no record of the wild polio vaccine.
In how long?
Now in Nigeria is 5. Some countries, as I said, 10. Some other countries are more. I don't have the full records of all other African countries. But the surprising thing is that Nigeria is one of the last countries to achieve it.
Yeah.
And the reason is because of our population. So this is another challenge. But we can't always keep hiding behind population. China is far more populous than Nigeria, and China is a developed country. So I believe we can use our population as a human power to even make resources. Why can't we make our own vaccine?
Absolutely.
Why can't we even use the population to educate people more, to empower ourselves, and to provide better health care?
Talking about us creating a vaccine. I remember during COVID, there were talks about a particular
we actually developed
vaccine that we developed. At least there was something that was made in, I think it was in Mozambique, some African country. But somehow it wasn't taken seriously because, of course, WHO has to.
And politics as well.
I was in USA during that time in COVID-19, 2019, 2020. And I remember then also, I know that some Africans, some professors, even in Nigeria, were making effort to develop vaccines. Some were going through like herbal routes and were confirming that it will prevent. But if it doesn't come from the Western world, we always believe that it is not standard.
That's the mentality that we have.
And it's marred with corruption, with lack of due process, and different things are holding us back. So I think we are the ones holding ourselves back. We shouldn't always fall behind the shadows that the West is trying to underdevelop us. We are the ones not developing ourselves. We got independence in 1960. Singapore got it after us, I believe, 1964 or 3. And they are more developed. They are even among the developed countries in the world now. Malaysia is another example. India has high population, and they are doing very well. They have people who are doing great jobs even in USA. The head of Google and people like that. So I feel that we need to do better in terms of eradicating corruption, more transparency, developing our health sector, and investing in research. And that was why I said this publicly when I had a speech. I was advising the government, especially the presidency, that increase Nigeria's budget. According to the Abuja Declaration, in 1999, when Olusegun Obasanjo was the president, he was advised, and they had even in an African summit in Abuja, that the budget for health should be 15% and above of total budget. Nigeria is still having a budget of 5.2%. And it's far low, far less than the required standard, and that is why we are having problems. So I feel that the government should invest more in research. The Minister of Health, Professor Ali Pat, is a board-certified medical doctor, also from the US. So he knows the procedures of healthcare. The Commissioner of Health in Lagos State also is a professor, and he trained also he did residency in the United Kingdom. So these are people who have international experience, just as I've also had it. So, but I don't know why we come back to Nigeria and we just have the Nigerian mentality again.
It really baffles
we should
me.
imbibe these good qualities of I'm not saying we should take all Western. I'm not in support of some things they do in the West. I'm not in support of all these LGBT and things like that. But there are some quality things they are doing there. We should imbibe them and practice here. Health is one of it. I feel we should improve in our healthcare.
Well, it's a good thing because we've recently heard stories of some doctors who were trained or, serving abroad, coming back, opening, clinics, to help with some of these conditions that are lacking in Nigeria.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but sadly, this is where we wrap up today. Thank you so much, Dr. Harun, for your
Always
time
a pleasure.
and for speaking on this.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Well, we'll be back tomorrow again, same time, same station. Thank you so much for staying tuned. And tomorrow is going to be hotter than this. I am Darshan Usman.
My name is Chiwata Onyema. Enjoy the rest of your day.